The darkness was a suffocating blanket, but his voice cut through it like a blade. "You were never enough, Clara," he whispered, each syllable dripping with a venom I'd never heard from my husband of 10 years. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I was supposed to be gone, lost in the void of a coma that had claimed me after the car crash. But somehow, I was awake inside my own motionless body, trapped, listening. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret, a sterile prison where my mind screamed while my body lay still. I could feel the weight of the tubes in my arms, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor tethering me to life. Ethan's voice, low and trembling, continued, unaware that I was there, a silent witness to his betrayal. "I've been living a lie, Clara. I never loved you the way you thought. I stayed because it was easy, because you were safe." Each word was a shard of glass, slicing through the life we'd built, the late-night talks, the shared dreams, the daughter we raised together. Our daughter, Lily, was 8, with her father's brown eyes and my stubborn streak. I thought of her now, probably curled up at her grandmother's house, clutching her stuffed rabbit, waiting for me to wake up. The thought of her kept me tethered, kept me fighting to stay in this half-life where I could hear but not speak, feel but not move. Ethan's chair creaked as he shifted closer, his breath warm against my ear. "I've been seeing someone else, Clara, for years. She's everything you're not. Alive, vibrant, free." The words landed like a physical blow, though my body didn't flinch. Years? How many? How had I missed it? I replayed our marriage in my mind. His late nights at the office, the way his smiles never quite reached his eyes, the growing distance I'd chalked up to stress. I'd been a fool, painting over the cracks in our life with hope and denial. But now, trapped in this limbo, I couldn't look away from the truth. Ethan's voice softened, but not with kindness. It was the tone of a man unburdening himself, shedding guilt onto a body he thought was empty. "I didn't want it to come to this, but maybe it's better this way. You're not waking up, Clara. The doctors say it's unlikely. I can finally be free." Free. The word echoed in my skull, a mockery of the life I'd fought for. I wanted to scream, to claw at him, to demand answers, but I was a prisoner in my own skin. The accident flashed in my mind, blinding headlights, the screech of tires, the sickening crunch of metal. I'd been driving home from Lily's school play, her proud smile still fresh in my memory. Ethan hadn't been there. He'd said he had a meeting. Another lie, I realized now. Had he been with her that night? The thought burned, fueling a rage that kept my consciousness sharp despite the fog of the coma. A nurse's footsteps approached, and Ethan fell silent. I could sense him pulling back, the air shifting as he stood. "I'll be back tomorrow," he muttered, as if it mattered. His footsteps faded, leaving me alone with the machines and my fury. I wasn't going to let this be the end. I wasn't going to let him walk away, leaving me to fade while he built a new life on the ashes of ours. In the darkness of my mind, I made a vow. I would wake up. I would fight my way back to Lily, to the truth, to the life I deserved. Ethan thought I was gone, but he was wrong. I was still here, and I'd heard every word. The next day, or was it hours later? Time was a blur. Ethan returned. I could tell it was him by the heavy drag of his shoes, the way he sighed before sitting down. "Lily asked about you today," he said, his voice flat. "I told her you're getting better, but she's smart. She knows something's wrong." My heart ached at the thought of my daughter's confusion, her fear. I wanted to hold her, to tell her I was still here, fighting. "I don't know how to do this, Clara," he continued, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to be a father without you. But I can't keep pretending. I need to move on. Move on. As if I were already dead." The cruelty of it ignited something in me, a spark of defiance. I focused on that spark, willing my body to respond, to give me a sign I could break free. A finger twitch, a blink, anything. But nothing came. Not yet. The hospital room became my battlefield, a place where I waged a silent war against my own body and the man I'd once trusted with my heart. Ethan's visits grew shorter, his words more guarded, as if he sensed the weight of my invisible presence. But I was there, always listening, piecing together the fragments of his betrayal like a puzzle I wished I could unsee. One afternoon, the door creaked open, and a new voice entered, a woman's, soft but confident, with a lilt that didn't belong in this sterile world. "Ethan, you can't keep doing this," she said, her tone laced with urgency. "You're tearing yourself apart." My heart seized. Her, the woman he'd chosen over me. I strained to catch every detail. The faint rustle of her clothes, the scent of jasmine perfume cutting through the antiseptic air. "Rachel, I can't just leave her," Ethan replied, his voice low but firm. Rachel. The name burned into my mind, a brand I'd carry forever. Not yet. Not until we know for sure. Know what? That I'd never wake up? That he could walk away without guilt? I wanted to scream, to tear the tubes from my arms and confront them both, but my body remained a traitor, locking me in silence. Rachel's voice softened, almost tender. "You deserve to be happy, Ethan. We both do. She's not coming back." The certainty in her words was a knife, twisting deeper with every syllable. I hated her, not just for stealing my husband, but for speaking of me as if I were already a memory. I clung to the image of Lily, her laughter, her tiny hand in mine, to keep me anchored. I would not let them erase me. Their conversation shifted to hushed plans, dinners, weekends away, a life they were already building. Each word was a brick in the wall they were constructing between me and the world I'd known. But something else slipped through, a detail that caught my attention like a lifeline. Rachel mentioned a name, Dr. Harris, the neurologist overseeing my case. "He says her brain activity is stable, but there's no guarantee," she said. Stable. That word sparked hope. If my brain was active, I wasn't gone. I was still fighting. Days bled into one another, marked only by the rhythm of nurses' rounds and Ethan's increasingly rare visits. I began to notice patterns in my awareness, moments when the fog lifted, when I could feel my fingers tingling or my eyelids fluttering. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me pushing, to focus every ounce of will on breaking free. I imagined my body as a locked door, and I was searching for the key, one sensation at a time. One night, Ethan came alone, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "I'm sorry, Clara," he whispered, and for a moment, I thought I heard the man I'd married, the one who'd held my hand through Lily's birth, who'd promised to love me forever. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I just fell out of love. The confession should have broken me, but instead, it fueled me. He didn't get to decide my worth. He didn't get to rewrite our story. I focused harder, willing my body to respond. A twitch, a sound, anything to let him know I was still here. And then, it happened. My finger moved, just a fraction, but enough to make the heart monitor skip. Ethan gasped, his chair scraping back. "Clara," he whispered, his voice trembling with something between hope and fear. I wanted to scream, "I'm here. I heard you." But the effort drained me, and the darkness pulled me under again. When I surfaced, hours or days later, a new voice filled the room. Dr. Harris, calm and measured. "Her vitals are improving," he told someone, probably Ethan. "There's a chance she could wake up soon." A chance. Those words were oxygen, flooding my lungs with purpose. I clung to them, repeating them in my mind as I fought to stay conscious, to push past the fog. But Ethan's response chilled me. "What does that mean for us?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "Us. Him and Rachel. Not me, not Lily." The realization hardened my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for my daughter, for the life we deserved, a life without his lies. The hospital became a paradox, a place of healing and heartbreak, where every beep of the monitor was both a lifeline and a reminder of my betrayal. I was gaining ground, my awareness sharpening like a blade honed by rage and love. My body was beginning to obey me, faint twitches in my fingers, a flutter of my eyelids. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Ethan's visits grew sporadic, his presence replaced by the steady rhythm of nurses and the occasional voice of Dr. Harris. But one day, a new visitor arrived, my sister Mara. Her voice was a lifeline, warm and fierce, cutting through the sterile silence. "Clara, you're stronger than this," she said, her hand squeezing mine. "Lily needs you. I need you. Don't you dare give up." Her words were a spark, igniting the fire I'd been nurturing in the dark. Mara didn't know about Ethan's confessions, but she sensed something was wrong. He's been acting strange, she told me, her voice low, as if he might overhear. Distant. Secretive. I don't trust him, Clara. Her suspicion was a validation, a sign I wasn't alone in my fight. I wanted to tell her everything, to scream the truth about Ethan and Rachel, but my body wasn't ready. I focused on her hand in mine, willing my fingers to squeeze back. A faint pressure, barely a movement, but Mara gasped. Clara? Did you just? She leaned closer, her breath hitching. Do it again, please. I poured every ounce of strength into that moment, and my fingers twitched again, stronger this time. Mara's sob filled the room, a sound of hope and relief. Nurse, she called, her voice trembling. She's responding. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses, doctors, the clatter of equipment. Dr. Harris's voice cut through the noise, calm but urgent. This is a good sign, but we need to monitor her closely. She's not out of the woods yet. I clung to his words, using them as a roadmap to freedom. Every twitch, every sensation was a step closer to breaking free. But Ethan's return later that day brought a new kind of dread. He sounded shaken, his voice tight with something I couldn't place. Fear, guilt, or both. They say you might wake up, he said, his chair creaking as he Saturday. I don't know what to do, Clara. I didn't mean for it to go this far. His words were a confession, but not an apology. He was scared, not of losing me, but of what my waking would mean for him. I wanted to confront him, to demand the full truth, but my body was still a cage. Instead, I listened, storing every word, every inflection, building a case against him in my mind. He spoke of Rachel again, his voice softening as he described her, her laugh, her energy, the way she made him feel alive. Each word was a betrayal, but it also clarified my purpose. I wasn't just fighting to wake up. I was fighting to reclaim my life, to protect Lily from a father who'd already abandoned her in his heart. Mara's visits became my anchor. She brought Lily one day, and the sound of my daughter's voice shattered me. Mommy, please wake up, she whispered, her small hand brushing my cheek. I miss you. The pain of her words was unbearable, but it gave me strength. I focused on her voice, on the love in it, and felt my body respond. A faint squeeze of her hand, enough to make her gasp. She's here, Aunt Mara. She's still here. The progress was slow, agonizing, but undeniable. Dr. Harris began talking about rehabilitation, about the possibility of full recovery. Ethan's visits, though, grew colder, his words clipped. If you wake up, Clara, things will have to change, he said one night, his voice low and hard. I can't keep living like this. The threat in his tone was clear. He wasn't planning to stay, not for me, not for Lily. But I was done being his victim. Every twitch, every flicker of consciousness was a rebellion. I was coming back, and when I did, Ethan would face the truth he thought he could bury. Mara became my fiercest ally, her visits a lifeline to the world outside my hospital bed. She didn't know the full extent of Ethan's deceit, but her instincts were sharp. He's hiding something, Clara, she said one afternoon, her voice low as she sat beside me. I saw him on the phone outside, looking like he was about to bolt. I'm going to find out what's going on. Her determination was a spark, fueling my own. I squeezed her hand, harder this time, and she gasped, tears in her voice. You're coming back to us, aren't you? I was. Slowly, painfully, I was clawing my way out of the coma. Dr. Harris's visits grew more optimistic, his words a beacon in the dark. Your brain activity is increasing, Clara. You're responding to stimuli. It's only a matter of time. Time. It was both my enemy and my ally. Every day brought me closer to waking, but it also gave Ethan more time to plan his escape. One evening, as the hospital settled into its quiet rhythm, I heard a new voice, Rachel's again, but different, strained. She and Ethan were arguing, their voices hushed but sharp. You can't keep stringing me along, Ethan, she said. If she wakes up, what happens to us? Ethan's response was cold, calculated. She won't be the same, Rachel. The doctors say even if she wakes, she'll need months of rehab. We'll have time to figure it out. Figure it out. As if my life, my recovery, was just an inconvenience to their plans. The rage in me burned brighter, and with it, my body responded. My eyes opened for a full second, catching a glimpse of the room, sterile white walls, Ethan's tense silhouette, Rachel's red hair glowing under the fluorescent light. The effort drained me, but it was proof I was breaking free. Mara's investigation began to bear fruit. She came one day, her voice trembling with excitement and anger. "Clara, I found something. Ethan's been transferring money, our money, into a separate account. I got a friend to look into it. He's planning something, I know it." The news wasn't surprising, but it was devastating. He wasn't just betraying me emotionally. He was dismantling our life, piece by piece, preparing to leave Lily and me with nothing. I focused harder, pushing my body to respond. My voice was still trapped, but my hands were stronger, my movements more deliberate. One day, I managed to grip Mara's wrist, holding on long enough for her to call Dr. Harris. "She's waking up," he confirmed, his voice steady but hopeful. "We're going to start reducing the sedatives. She's fighting hard." Ethan's reaction to the news was telling. He came that night, his voice tight with panic. "Clara, if you can hear me, you need to know I didn't mean it. I was just stressed. I love you." The lie was so blatant it almost made me laugh, if I'd had the strength. He was scared, not of losing me, but of losing control. I wanted to tell him I'd heard everything, that his secrets were no longer safe, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. Lily's visits kept me grounded. Her small voice, telling me about school, her drawings, her dreams, was a reminder of why I was fighting. "I made you a picture, Mommy," she said one day, placing a piece of paper on my chest. "It's us, together." I felt the weight of it, the love in her gesture, and my fingers twitched, brushing the paper. She squealed, and Mara laughed through tears. "She's coming back, Lily. Your mom's coming back." But Ethan's fear was growing, and with it, his desperation. I heard him on the phone one night, his voice low and urgent. "Rachel, we need to move faster. If she wakes up, everything changes." Everything. He was right, but not in the way he thought. When I woke, I wouldn't just reclaim my life. I'd make sure he faced the consequences of his choices. The line between consciousness and oblivion was thinning, like a veil I could almost tear through. My body was waking, but my heart was hardening, forged in the fire of Ethan's betrayal and my own resolve. Every word he'd whispered, every lie he'd spun, was a weapon I'd use against him when the time came. Mara was relentless, digging deeper into Ethan's secrets. She came one morning, her voice tight with urgency. "Clara, I found more. He's been meeting with a lawyer, something about asset division. He's trying to protect himself before you wake up." The news hit like a punch, but it also clarified my path. Ethan wasn't just planning to leave. He was planning to destroy me financially, to ensure Lily and I had nothing. I focused harder, pushing my body to its limits. My eyes opened more frequently now, catching glimpses of the world. Lily's drawings taped to the wall, Mara's worried face, the sterile glow of the hospital. My fingers moved with purpose, and one day, I managed a faint whisper, barely audible, but enough to make Mara sob. "Clara, you're doing it. You're coming back." Dr. Harris adjusted my treatment, reducing the sedatives and starting physical therapy to stimulate my muscles. The process was grueling. Even in my limited awareness, every movement felt like lifting a mountain, every breath a victory. But I was driven by more than survival now. I was driven by the need to protect my daughter, to expose Ethan, to reclaim the life he thought he could steal. Ethan's visits were a study in contradiction. He'd sit by my bed, playing the dutiful husband, but his words betrayed his panic. "If you wake up, Clara, we can work this out," he said one night, his voice trembling. "I made mistakes, but we can fix it. Fix it." The audacity of his words fueled my rage. There was no fixing what he'd broken, not after years of lies, not after he'd planned a future without me. Rachel's presence grew bolder. She came with Ethan one evening, her voice sharp with frustration. "You need to make a decision, Ethan. You can't have it both ways." I hated the sound of her, the way she spoke of me as an obstacle, a problem to be solved. But I also heard the cracks in their alliance, her impatience, his indecision. They weren't as united as they thought, and that gave me an edge. Mara's investigation uncovered more emails, bank statements, proof of Ethan's affair stretching back years. She shared it all with me, whispering the details as if afraid the walls could hear. He's been funneling money to Rachel, Clara. They're planning to leave the state once you're gone. The word stung, but it also sharpened my focus. I wasn't gone. I was here, and I was coming back stronger. One day, I spoke, a single word, hoarse and faint, but clear. Lily. Mara froze, then grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face. Clara. Oh my God. You said her name. The nurses rushed in, and Dr. Harris confirmed it. I was waking up, faster than they'd expected. The room buzzed with hope, but I felt something else, a cold, determined clarity. I wasn't just waking up to live, I was waking up to fight. Ethan's reaction was telling. He came that night, his face pale, his hands shaking. Clara, can you hear me? He asked, leaning close. I kept my eyes closed, my breathing steady, letting him think I was still lost. I'm sorry, he whispered, but the words were hollow, a performance for a ghost he thought couldn't judge him. I heard the fear in his voice, and it was intoxicating. He knew the tide was turning. Lily's next visit was my turning point. Mommy, I knew you'd come back, she said, her voice trembling as she climbed onto the bed. I opened my eyes, meeting hers, and for the first time in months, I smiled. It was weak, but it was real. She threw her arms around me, and I felt the strength of her love, the reason I'd fought so hard. Ethan wasn't going to take this from me. Not now, not ever. Waking up was like breaking through the surface of a frozen lake, sharp, painful, and exhilarating. My voice was weak, my movements sluggish, but I was here, alive, and ready to reclaim what was mine. The hospital room, once a prison, was now a staging ground for the battle ahead. Ethan didn't know it yet, but his whispered truths had forged a warrior. Mara was my rock, her presence a constant reminder that I wasn't alone. She brought a lawyer friend, Sarah, who listened to the evidence Mara had gathered, bank records, emails, proof of Ethan's affair, and financial betrayal. We can build a case, Clara, Sarah said, her voice steady. He won't get away with this. The words were a lifeline, a promise that justice was within reach. My recovery was slow but steady. I could sit up now, speak in short sentences, even hold Lily's hand without trembling. Her visits were my fuel, her laughter a reminder of what I was fighting for. Mommy, when you come home, can we bake cookies? She asked one day, her eyes bright with hope. I nodded, my voice hoarse but firm. We will, baby. I promise. Ethan's visits, though, were a performance. He'd bring flowers, smile at the nurses, play the devoted husband. But I saw the cracks, his tense jaw, the way his eyes darted to the door. He knew I was waking, and with every step I took toward recovery, his control slipped. I'm so glad you're getting better, he said one day, his voice strained. I stared at him, my eyes steady, and said nothing. Let him squirm. Let him wonder what I knew. Mara and Sarah worked in secret, building a case to protect Lily and me. They found more, text messages between Ethan and Rachel, plans to sell our house, to start over somewhere new. The betrayal ran deeper than I'd imagined, but it only strengthened my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for my daughter's future, for the home we'd built, for the truth to be laid bare. One night, Rachel came alone. I heard her before I saw her. The click of her heels, the faint scent of jasmine. She stood by my bed, her voice low and venomous. You should have stayed asleep, Clara. You're only making this harder for everyone. The audacity of her words stunned me, but I kept my eyes closed, my breathing even. She thought I was still helpless, but she was wrong. I was awake, and I was listening. My strength returned in waves. I could walk a few steps now, supported by a nurse, my legs trembling but determined. Dr. Harris was amazed. You're a miracle, Clara, he said. Most people don't come back like this. But I wasn't most people. I was a mother, a survivor, a woman who'd heard every cruel word and turned them into fuel. Ethan's desperation peaked. He came one evening, his face haggard, his voice pleading. Clara, we need to talk. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. For Lily. The mention of my daughter's name on his lips was a violation. I looked at him, my voice steady for the first time. You don't get to use her name, I said. Not after what you've done. His face paled, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Real, raw fear. He knew I knew. He knew the game was over. I didn't need to say more. My silence was enough. The truth was coming, and when it did, it would destroy the life he'd tried to build on lies. The hospital was no longer my prison. It was my proving ground. I walked unaided now, my steps slow but sure, each one a testament to the strength I'd found in the ashes of Ethan's betrayal. The truth had been my crucible, and I emerged not broken, but unbreakable. Mara and Sarah's plan was ready. They'd gathered enough evidence to bury Ethan. Financial records, emails, texts, even a recorded conversation Mara had secretly captured during one of his visits. We're going to confront him, Mara said, her eyes fierce. But we need to do it carefully, for Lily's sake. I nodded, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about protecting my daughter, ensuring she had a future free from his lies. The confrontation came on a crisp morning, the hospital room bathed in sunlight. Ethan arrived, unaware that Mara and Sarah were waiting outside. I sat up in bed, my voice strong, my eyes locked on his. I heard you, Ethan, I said, the words cutting through the air like a blade. Every word you said while I was in that coma. I know about Rachel. I know about the money, the plans, everything. His face crumpled, a mix of shock and guilt. Clara, he started, but I cut him off. Don't. You don't get to explain. You don't get to lie anymore. Mara and Sarah entered, their presence a wall of strength behind me. Sarah laid out the evidence, documents, recordings, proof of his betrayal. You have two choices, she said, her voice cold. Cooperate, or we take this to court and expose everything. Ethan's bravado shattered. He begged, tears in his eyes, but I felt nothing. The man I'd loved was gone, replaced by a stranger who'd tried to erase me. What about Lily? He asked, his voice breaking. She's my daughter too. I leaned forward, my voice steady. You lost the right to call her yours when you planned a life without us. Rachel faced her own reckoning. Mara had contacted her employer, her family, laying bare her role in the affair. Her life unraveled, her job in jeopardy, her reputation tarnished. She came to the hospital one last time, her face pale, her voice trembling. You've ruined everything, she spat. I looked at her, calm and unshaken. No, Rachel, you did that yourself. The legal battle was swift. With Sarah's help, I secured full custody of Lily and protected our assets. Ethan was left with nothing but his guilt, forced to face the consequences of his choices. He moved away, a shadow of the man I'd once known, while I rebuilt my life, brick by brick. Lily was my anchor, her love my guide. We moved into a new home, small but ours, filled with her laughter and my determination. I returned to work, started therapy, began to heal. The scars of Ethan's words would always be there, but they didn't define me. I was more than the woman he'd tried to break. I was Clara, a mother, a survivor, a force. One evening, as Lily and I baked cookies, her giggles filling the kitchen, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The darkness of the coma, the pain of betrayal, had led me here, to a life built on truth, love, and resilience. I'd heard every cruel word, but they hadn't destroyed me. They'd made me stronger. And as I tucked Lily into bed that night, her stuffed rabbit in her arms, she looked up at me and smiled. I'm glad you came back, Mommy. I kissed her forehead, my heart full. I'm glad too, baby. I'm glad too.